Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. Now I will sing the Mangalacharna prayers and lead a short kirtan, and then we'll proceed with the interview. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta
Shri
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasvi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasvi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to read something before the interview begins. Hare Krishna. I'm going to read a short excerpt, which relates to our esteemed temple president and here, Vishaka Devi Dasi. I don't know if she's here now. She was here. Okay. So, while living on the rooftop of one of the buildings on the land, Vishaka, sitting on a small piece of wood, wrote an article entitled, quote, Prabhupada, India's national hero, end quote, for the Hare Krishna Monthly, a publication I had started and which I usually edited and sent it to Srila Prabhupada. He replied to, I am very grateful to you for your kind words about me, but I do not think that I have done anything. but I am only delivering the best message as it is. Actually, anyone who is a sincere devotee of Krishna and who is rendering service by preaching his message is to be considered as hero. So you are all heroes of your country and humanity. Hero means someone whom others want to follow as example of the best type of person. So you all become like that, perfect examples of Krishna-conscious heroes and heroines, and preach the message exactly as I have taught it to you, very seriously, and being fully convinced, and others will automatically come forward to join us. We shall all be like one great army of heroes for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, yes, our dear Vishaka Devi Dasi wrote the article, Prabhupada, India's National Hero.
The photo on the front cover of the book was also taken by Mother Vishaka. So Maharaj, in the short space of time we have, it's going to be a very fast-paced interview, so to speak, in the 671 pages of this extraordinary book, which you have captured so much detail in terms of the events, the emotions, and the sacrifice of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. And what we hope to get to in today's session is even a tiny insight into that. So we'll start off, Maharaj, by maybe the preamble to the whole event. In 1971, we read in the book, the first thought of establishing a center in Bombay came up, and Srila Prabhupada's followers thought that the downtown city center would be the ideal place to establish. But Srila Prabhupada chose a remote fishing village infested with mosquitoes, nothing special about the place. And when most people heard about Srila Prabhupada wanting to establish a center there, they were bewildered. Was there any significance in Srila Prabhupada selecting that particular location?
Before Srila Prabhupada went to America, he passed that land on his way to visit Sumati Maraji at her bungalow. And he thought to himself, this would be a good place to have a Krishna temple. So he had already identified that spot even before going to America and beginning Krishna consciousness there. And then when he returned to India with some of his disciples, he met one Mr. A.B. Nair, who was, he had been the sheriff of Bombay, and he was the editor of one of 3 English daily newspapers in Bombay called the Free Press Journal. And one of our devotees who was going door to door collecting advertisements for souvenir and making life members, met Mr. Nair. And Mr. Nair wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada saying that he had some land in Juhu which he would like to make available for a great cause such as Swamiji's. And it was the same land that Srila Prabhupada had seen before he went to America. Most of our life members were in South Bombay or Central Bombay, and Juhu seemed very far away. Even a delegation of them went to meet Srila Prabhupada to request him not to move to Juhu. But Srila Prabhupada had a vision. He liked the fact that the land was near Juhu Beach, and so he went ahead, although, as I mentioned, many of our supporters and even some of Prabhupada's disciples protested against the move.
And how did you land up in Bombay with that project, with this project group? All right.
The first Gaur Purnima festival was held in 1972, and when I arrived at the site, I visited Srila Prabhupada in his grass hut, and he said to me, during the British rule, they had 3 provinces: Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. So which do you want? I said, Srila Prabhupada, I will do whatever you want me to do. I'll go wherever you want me to go. He said, no, I want you to decide. So I asked, can I have some time to think about it? Srila Prabhupada said yes. From Mayapur we went to Calcutta, and I felt my main service was to determine where I should go. And I would, chant in front of the deities and pray for guidance, but I wasn't getting any answer. So then I hatched a plan to try to, you could say, trick Srila Prabhupada into revealing where he wanted me to go. So I went into his room and I said, Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking that I should go to Madras, go back to Madras, and I gave the reasons. And with a completely non-committal expression on his face and tone of voice, he said, yes, you can do. Then I said, but then again I was thinking I should stay here in Calcutta. I gave the reasons. Same thing, no change of expression or tone of voice. He said, yes, you can do. So by then I got the idea that my plan was not working. But I was invested in it, so I played it out, and then I said I was thinking maybe I should go to Bombay, and he gave the reasons. Exact same tone of voice, exact same expression. Yes, you can do. So, I sort of felt ashamed of myself for trying to trick Srila Prabhupada. But I also felt very encouraged, that my spiritual master was so intelligent he couldn't be tricked by a silly disciple. So I thought about it, and then I just got an insight that our main program in India was life membership. Srila Prabhupada said, if you just get me 2 life members a day, I will do everything else. And, but we weren't always fulfilling our promises to the life members. And so they were disgruntled, and I thought, well, if we service the life members well, they themselves would make more life members. And if we don't take care of them and they complain about us, then even if we ourselves go to make someone a life member, they might not join. So I wrote Srila Prabhupada that I think I should come to Bombay, and which was the head office, and look after some of the affairs of the head office and the life membership program. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, come Bombay immediately. So that was how I ended up there. But my idea was different. My idea was not to become the temple president or be engaged in management. But Srila Prabhupada, he called a meeting. At that time he was staying with one of the tenants because we didn't have any facilities. So that the tenant, his name was Padmanabhacharya. And when Srila Prabhupada entered his flat, he said, I'm taking shelter of the Acharyas. So the meeting was held there, and so Srila Prabhupada raised the topic, who will take charge? And the atmosphere was quite tense, and nobody spoke. And then suddenly, to my surprise and dismay, he said, so Giriraj, you will take charge? And my mind rebelled against the idea, but with my intelligence I knew that the secret of success in spiritual life is to please the spiritual master. So I said, if that's what you wish, I will. And then after some time, Srila Prabhupada said, so, now the entire responsibility is on you. And I thought, doesn't he know how much I'm struggling just to accept the idea? And then it's like he's rubbing it in by saying, now the entire responsibility is on you. I mean, that passed through my mind. I wasn't actually convinced of that, but so that was how I ended up becoming the temple president.
Beautiful. And then what was the specific instructions to Prabhupada? Did he give you any specific instructions on how you should develop the land at that point in time?
He gave many instructions. At that time, we were just beginning, and he said that we should build a fence around the property to secure it. And there was a plinth from a building that was started. It didn't get very far, but there was a plinth of a building in the garden at the back of the property. The front of the property was vacant, and at the back of the property there were 6 tenement buildings situated around a garden, and in the middle of that garden area was the plinth. And so, he said we should build a chattai structure there, which we did. But yeah, the conditions were quite austere, very austere, I would say.
Yeah, we read about some of the austerities. It's unimaginable what Srila Prabhupada's followers went through at that point in time. Dysentery, diarrhea, mosquitoes, snakes, swarms.
The Bombay rats are not ordinary rats. They're about the size of a small cat. And the thing about them is that when they bite you, when you're sleeping, you don't feel it. But then when you wake up in the morning, you see there's a pool of blood from where they had bitten you. So, yeah, the Bombay rats were part of the colorful cast of characters that were attacking us.
So, at what point did the drama start to unfold? Because Mr. Nair initially it seemed that he seemed to be a pious gentleman, wanted to help Srila Prabhupada's mission. You had the land, and something was starting to develop. When did the actual drama start to unfold?
Yes. Mr. Nair was very cunning, and he had entered an agreement with another party named Chavan Lal and Sons to sell them the vacant portion of the land on the condition that they get permission from the municipality to subdivide the land. And then Mr. Nair used his influence to make sure that he didn't get the permission to subdivide the land. And then Nair canceled the agreement and kept the money that the man had paid as a down payment. So with us, he did something similar. He put a condition that we should get permission from the charity commissioner to make the purchase. And then he used his influence to make sure that the charity commissioner didn't give us permission. So, some time passed, and then he said, and it was also written in the sales agreement, time is the essence of the agreement. So, after a while, he said, you people haven't gotten the permission from the charity commissioner, too much time has passed, so I'm canceling the agreement. And that was, the beginning of the intrigue.
So when he did that, he obviously informed Srila Prabhupada that this is what his whole scheme is. How does Srila Prabhupada respond when he was informed of that?
Well, Srila Prabhupada was always confident of our success there. And yeah, he said we should just keep working on getting the permission from the Charity Commissioner, which eventually we did. But yeah, there was... So we sort of restored the agreement, but then there was a major, I guess you could say, blunder on the part of some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, who in any case didn't really want to be in Juhu. And they canceled the agreement. The lawyers had given them, and that was another thing, it seems there was some collusion between our lawyers and Nayar's lawyers. But they somehow gave the devotees the idea that if we didn't cancel the agreement, we would never get our money back. And so they canceled it, which was a big disaster. In fact, Vishaka played a role in that. Let me find that part. So, yeah, some of the senior devotees were thinking that they should cancel the agreement, and I didn't agree with their thinking, but they were much... So I'll start with that. It's a short paragraph, and then we'll move along. I didn't agree with their thinking, and certainly not with the idea that Prabhupada could be seen in such mundane terms, or was not capable of assessing the situation and making a good decision. I didn't even like hearing things put in those terms. In fact, I was completely opposed to what they were doing because I knew how much Prabhupada wanted the Juhu project to succeed. But Dravida and I were junior to them, and we weren't able to change the way things were going. They had the authority, and they canceled the agreement. In Ahmedabad, where Srila Prabhupada was at that time, Prabhupada remained concerned about Bombay. He requested Nair and Mr. Diwanji, our lawyer, to come there to try and reach a final settlement, but they declined. And he had not heard from or been able to get in touch with Shamsundar or Tamal Krishna, who wanted to cancel the agreement. Quote, I am very much surprised not to hear from you about the Nair affair, he wrote to them. I have tried to contact you by phone, but it is understood that you have left Mr. Valia's place, and they could not say where you are. We sent a telegram today reading as follows. Anxious to know progress with Nair. Call, urgent. End quote. Prabhupada had a feeling that something might go wrong, and that Shamsundar and Tamal Krishna might want to cancel the agreement. Vishaka Dasi had just arrived in Ahmedabad from Bombay to see, hear, and photograph Prabhupada at the Pandal program, and he called her into his room. He said, Tamal and Shamsundar are in Juhu, and I suspect they might cancel our sales agreement with Nair. I've tried phoning, but I cannot get through, and telegrams may not reach them. I'd like you to return to Bombay and tell them that under no circumstances should they cancel the agreement. Vishaka took the next train to Bombay to convey Prabhupada's instructions. But when she arrived the following morning, it was already too late. What Prabhupada had foreseen had already happened. The sales agreement had been cancelled. Even then, and even though Prabhupada had personally sent Vishaka to speak to them, Shamsundar and Tamal didn't want to listen to what she had to say. She was just a woman, they thought. What could she tell them? They thought they knew what they were doing. Dravida and I had been shocked when we heard about the cancellation. We knew that without an agreement we had no legal standing. We had neither gotten back our earlier payments, nor did we have any claim to potential ownership. But when Vishaka delivered Prabhupada's message, and we saw how she had been treated, we became even more upset. I immediately called Prabhupada in Ahmedabad. He rarely spoke on the phone, and I had never spoken with him on the phone before, but the situation was critical. Bhaktivedanta Swami here, I heard when Prabhupada got on the line. To hear his voice was itself a tremendous spiritual experience. For a second, I felt great ecstasy, despite the seriousness of the matter at hand. Yes, he asked, when for some moments I did not reply. His question brought me back to the situation at hand. Srila Prabhupada, I managed, trembling. This is Giriraj Das. Vishaka came and brought your message, but they didn't want to listen to her because they thought she was just a woman. Yes, yes, he repeated. Srila Prabhupada, I finally blurted out. They canceled the agreement. Prabhupada was silent. Then, in a grave voice, filled with anger, concern, and resignation, he said, then everything is finished. He asked me another question about the money, but I didn't know the answer. You are phoning me and you don't have all the information, he said. You are also useless. I told him that Shamsundar was thinking of leaving Bombay and coming to Ahmedabad to speak to him. Yes, that is good. Let him come. Then, understanding that I was in anxiety about the whole situation, he said, don't be anxious. And then he ended the call.
So it seemed like it was a disastrous situation. How was it unraveled, and what instructions did Srila Prabhupada give to unravel such a disastrous situation?
Well, Mr. Nair, he was quite fond of Shamsundar, and especially Shamsundar's daughter, Saraswati. And so Srila Prabhupada was in Hyderabad, and so Shamsundar arranged for Mr. Nair and his guru. See, Mr. Nair thought that Prabhupada might have some mystic power that he would use to convince him to revive the sales agreement. So he wanted to have his guru with him to counteract Srila Prabhupada's powers. So they all came. The devotees were staying at the residence of Sri Pannalal Pitti, who was one of the wealthiest men in Hyderabad and had a large estate. So Prabhupada was meeting with Nair and the guru that he brought along with him. And then at a certain stage, Srila Prabhupada began to yawn. And Mr. Nair said, "Swamiji, you seem to be very tired. You should take rest." Srila Prabhupada said, yes, I'm very tired. So Mr. Nair and his guru went into the next room. And Srila Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna that if someone says you're tired and you should take rest, it means that they're tired and they want to take rest. So he said, if you go into the next room, you'll see that Nair and the guru are asleep. So wake up Nair, but not the guru, and bring Nair back into the room. So Tamal Krishna did that, and Nair was sort of, stumbling in, still half asleep. And Prabhupada convinced him to revive the sales agreement. So that was...
So victory from the jaws of defeat. And if we move on, Maharaj, the title of the book, "I'll Build You a Temple," it has great significance in the book, and it forms the foundation of, so to speak, the struggle. Can you give us some insight into that title?
Yes, Srila Prabhupada had promised the deities, Sri Sri Radharasa Bihari, that he would build them a temple. I mean, they were staying in our flat in the Akash Ganga building on Warden Road. It was a nice location overlooking the sea. But Prabhupada got the Juhu land and he wanted the deities brought there. And so the devotees brought the deities by taxi. And meanwhile, there was a Pandal program going on at the front of Hare Krishna land. Prabhupada wanted to inaugurate our presence there by having a Pandal program. And so the deities were placed in the Pandal. And then they stayed in different places. They were in the Pandal, but then when the Pandal program was over, we made, Narayan Prabhu, who recently departed, our Prabhupada's disciple Narayan Das. So he made a little temple for them with bamboo and cloth. But coming back to the title, Srila Prabhupada promised the deities that you just come and stay at Hare Krishna land and I will build you a temple. And then from there, when the rainy season came, the deities moved into the hut where we were staying at the back of the land. And then finally, in Janmashtami time, we by then we'd constructed like a semi-permanent temple at the front of the property, and then Janmashtami time the deities were moved into that small temple, and then they remained there until the new temple opened. And Tamal Krishna Goswami commented that we often hear of devotees performing austerities for the sake of the deities, but at Hare Krishna land, the deities performed austerities for the sake of the devotees.
So that leads us nicely, Maharaj, to one of the most dramatic events in the book, where the devotees had established a semi-permanent temple, and Mr. Nair and his cohorts did something almost unbelievable. Could you take us to the build-up of that event, and actually the event itself?
Yeah. Actually, Mr. Nair had died by then, and it was rumored that Mrs. Nair used the money she got from the life insurance to pay off the municipality and the police to demolish the temple. So one morning a demolition crew came, and they said that this structure is unauthorized and we're going to demolish it. And it was not unauthorized, it was authorized for a year, and then it was, the yearly authorization was renewed. And I said, no, that's not true. And I went to my office and I got the file to show them that we had the permission. But they weren't interested because they had been bribed. So then they started to break the temple. And, different devotees were running up to stop them, and one by one all those devotees were apprehended and put in the police paddy wagon. And one of the great heroines, Maitali Dasi, she stood there in front of the deity room, and she's fending off all the attackers. And it was hard, because she was a woman. But eventually they grabbed her by the hair to pull her away. And she was kicking and screaming. And then later Srila Prabhupada said that she would go back to Godhead kicking and screaming. And she's in London, our dear Mataji.
She lives in Radlett.
Huh?
She lives in Radlett.
Oh.
Short distance away.
Okay, yeah. So, so then we thought that we had to go to the different municipal councillors to convince them that the temple was authorized and it should be allowed to remain. But then it occurred to us, we don't need to do that because it is authorized, and the demolition of the temple was unauthorized. But we don't need permission to rebuild it because we already had permission. So we had this realization on a Friday, and Mrs. Nair had her spies, and they told her that we're planning to rebuild the temple. So she went to the High Court, which was being, her case went to Justice 9, and she said that she wanted an injunction to prevent us from rebuilding the temple. And he said, I cannot grant an injunction without hearing the other side. And she said, well, then just give a temporary injunction until Monday. And he said, no, I won't give any injunction without hearing the other side. So we knew we had the weekend to rebuild the temple. And Sri P.L. Sethi, who's one of the heroes, a very staunch devotee of Srila Prabhupada, he was a builder, and so he got some workers from his construction site and some materials and began to rebuild the temple. So Mr. Matre, who's the local municipal councillor and was in cahoots with Nair, so Mr. Matre came and he said, well, that's all right, you can rebuild the temple, but I'm going to come back with 50 gundas and break it down again. And Mr. Sethi said to his son, Brij Mohan, Brij Mohan, bring my pistol and my rifle. And then he said, how many cartridges do I have? He used the word cartouche. How many cartouches do we have? Brij Mohan said, 250. Then Mr. Sethi said to Mr. Matre, 50 isn't enough. You'll have to bring more. You'll have to bring more than 250 because the first 250 who come, we're going to shoot dead. So that sort of put them off. And then he did it. He did it, or we did it. We rebuilt the temple. And then Monday we went to the court and we announced that the temple was already rebuilt. And then Justice Nine said, you know, what's built is built. You know, no one can take down the temple. Now you have to pursue the matter in a civil suit. So, yeah, that was how it was rebuilt. And as a small sort of humorous note, our dear God brother Sridhar Swami was sitting in a jeep near the small temple that we were rebuilding, and Brij Mohan Sethi asked him, "Why are you sitting in the jeep there?" And Sridhar Swami replies, "So if there's any trouble, I can make a quick escape." Which wasn't true. His motto was like, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So, yeah.
So the challenge Mrs. Nair took up where her husband left off, and she seemed equally devious, and she remained the main obstacle. How did she come about a change in heart, and how did this whole saga turn around?
Well, she was in bad association, and including the association of Pushpakant Matre, the local municipal corporator. And meanwhile, two of our supporters were working behind the scenes to convince Mrs. Nair to come to meet Srila Prabhupada. One was one of our tenants, Mrs. Warrior, and another was a lawyer, a friend of Srila Prabhupada's named Sushil Asnani. And they convinced her. And they said, you know, you're not gaining anything by fighting with Swamiji, and you know, if you want more money, let him know. Let him know what you want, and he'll consider it. But nobody's gaining anything the way things are now. So they brought her to meet him, and she, somehow in Prabhupada's presence, she became very remorseful and repentant. And she said, I never really wanted to go along with what my husband was doing. And Prabhupada was very kind and affectionate, and he said, you're just like my daughter, and I'll take care of you, for the rest of your life. You can stay in any of our centers. So she was ready to revive the sales agreement. And, she asked for another 50,000 rupees, which wasn't much. Just Prabhupada readily agreed to that. And so the agreement was revived. And then there was a signing. Because of all the complications, we didn't really have a place for Srila Prabhupada on Hare Krishna land. But we had arranged for him to stay in a holiday bungalow, not a bungalow, but a holiday hut belonging to the Katau family. And so there, and the registrar of documents, out of respect for Srila Prabhupada, he came to Juhu. And so, in that meeting, she signed over the land. And then afterwards, and Srila Prabhupada had arranged for the devotees to cook prasad to feed everyone. So afterwards, we went out into the sort of hallway, and everyone took prasad, and Srila Prabhupada personally oversaw the serving. And then, before that he said, well, now that we have the land, we need to start the construction fund. And Mr. Sethi's wife was wearing some gold bangles, and she took off her gold bangles and gave them to Srila Prabhupada to start the construction fund. And Srila Prabhupada said, this is very auspicious, we're beginning with gold instead of paper money. So then they went out and they had served prasad to everyone. And then after all the guests had left, then Srila Prabhupada went back into his room and sat back on his asana, and then he said it was a good fight. Someone should write a book about it.
It's really painful in the book to read how Srila Prabhupada struggled with this land, but he was not there for the main opening of the temple. But Srila Prabhupada was there for the cornerstone laying ceremony. Maharaj, you can describe the atmosphere at that point in time when Srila Prabhupada's home, when he was laying the cornerstone?
There were actually two cornerstone laying ceremonies. The first was when we first got the land, and Srila Prabhupada was very happy, and Mrs. Nair was there. The mood was very sweet. There's footage of it, and I wasn't there, I came a little later. But then everything got stalled because of all the complications. And then, when we finally got the permission, Srila Prabhupada held another cornerstone laying ceremony on Ram Navami. And I was present for that. All of our friends came. Mr. Sethi was there. And Prabhupada gave a very nice talk about how he had originally laid the cornerstone ceremony some years earlier, but how the project was stalled, but now it was going ahead, so he wanted to have another ceremony. And he spoke very nicely about his mission.
Unfortunately, we have limited time for the devotees. You can read the detail. And behind the detail, there's so much of instructions we can gather from the book, and the book's available. But I thought we'd leave some time. If any of you have any questions or reflections or comments, we'll take them now. So if anyone has any questions or comments, you can raise your hand and pass the mic around.
There was an incident that Mr. Nair sent a prostitute.
Mr. Nair sent a prostitute.
Yes?
Can you explain how it was?
Well, it began like this. We were in a car driving from Juhu to Bombay City to go to the lawyer's office. And so he arranged that he was on the right side in the back seat of the car. I was in the middle, and the prostitute, I didn't know she was a prostitute, was on my left side. And then she started, putting her hands on my legs and then coming close. And, I was a young man. I was getting agitated. But then I thought, if I do something with her, the news will spread. It will hurt Prabhupada's cause, and even if maybe for myself I might have been ready to throw caution to the wind, but I couldn't bear the thought of doing anything that would harm Srila Prabhupada's interests. So and she would come around looking for me, but I just avoided her.
Thank you, Maharaj, for this enlightening conversation interview. My wife is constantly listening to you and all of your pastimes. She's told me quite a lot of details. This one, she told me that Prabhupada said, Giriraj is Bombay, Bombay is Giriraj. Can you give us some context on what this? Because I was born in Bombay.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada made some encouraging statements. That was one. Giriraj is Bombay, and Bombay is Giriraj. And another was Juhu is like Kurukshetra, and Giriraj is like our Arjuna.
I'm just wondering, you went through a lot of trials and tribulations and real tough times. Any young man wouldn't just escape that. I'm just wondering, what is it that made you stay? You had so many avenues to escape it. Your opportunities, I should say. What made you stay and relish all this richness again? Did you foresee this?
Well, the main reason I stayed was out of, say, attachment to Srila Prabhupada or loyalty to Srila Prabhupada. But I also had appreciated Prabhupada's vision for the project, and I thought it would really be wonderful. And at one stage, Srila Prabhupada commented that, Giriraj is the only one who's understood my vision for this project. So that was another reason I wanted to stay and see the Prabhupada's vision fulfilled. But yeah, mainly, but it was, like Shyam Sundar, he came, he said, Giriraj, you're just wasting your time here, you should come back to America, and, you're very good at preaching to people and convincing people. You should come to America and you can preach to leaders, you can preach at the universities. And I heard what he said and I was considering it. And then I thought I better just ask Srila Prabhupada. So I asked him. And he said, suppose you're massaging Krishna's left leg and you want to massage his right leg. That is also service. But Krishna may want you to massage his left leg longer. And so I got the message. That he or Krishna, wanted me to stay. And I did.
Also, if you massage one leg, you need to massage the other. And that would take time.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for a very enlightening evening. Something I was just wondering was, did your relationship change with your godbrothers after what happened? And if it did, how did you reconcile, or how did you cooperate with them to continue serving Srila
I really appreciated my godbrothers. We had differences of opinion, especially on the sales agreement and the Juhu land. But it didn't really change my relationship with them. Yeah, we were godbrothers and we were serving Srila Prabhupada together. But after Tamal Krishna Goswami canceled the sales agreement, whenever, or maybe not whenever, but many times when people would come to meet Srila Prabhupada, he would call Tamal Krishna Goswami into the room and say, he canceled the sales agreement.
One more question.
Thank you, Maharaj, for an absolutely beautiful summary of the book. I have been aware of the book and I've waited a long time, so today I purchased it. Because if you probably won't remember, in 2005, you signed my book, the first one you wrote. So I'll be coming up soon. But the question I want to ask you is that in Shuddhakitti's book, what's the difficulty? There are a numerous number of stories of Shuddhakitti's time in association with Srila Prabhupada. And in there, Srila Prabhupada received the message that Mr. Nair had passed away. And that's a really interesting story. Because when he heard the news, I think he slapped his raised his thigh. And he said, "That's wonderful news." And Shuddhikiti sort of had this inner thought, why should Srila Prabhupada celebrate the death of someone? I don't know if you maybe want to throw some more light on that incident and why Srila Prabhupada was happy about that.
Yeah. Well, one day, Hare Krishna. What happened? Yeah, so one day I was near Metro Cinema, and there are vendors of magazines and newspapers who display their publications on the sidewalk. And I just happened to glance down, and the front page headline was A.B. Nair dead, with a picture of Nair. And I thought we have to inform Srila Prabhupada. So Bali Mardan was in Bombay then, and he had more experience. So he phoned, and Shrutikirti came and took the call. And then Srila Prabhupada, like he folded his hands over his head and he said, "Thank you, Krishna. I was praying for this." He said, Mr. Nair had caused too much trouble to the deities and to the devotees. And then he sent a letter to me and a few of the other devotees and our supporters, saying that, today I have received a message, a telephonic message from Bali Mardan that Nair is dead. And if this is the fact, it is very good news that Nrsimhadev has killed the demon. And then he quoted Prahlad Maharaj, saying that even saintly persons take pleasure when a snake or a scorpion is killed. He said Mr. Nair was a big snake. So this is very good news. There's a very brief summary. It's written about in detail in the book.
Krishna, thank you Maharaj, thank you very much, Prabhu. Just before we close, we could kindly ask Her Grace Vishaka Prabhu to come and just say some words of thanks.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for gracing us in Bhaktivedanta Manor and for all the excellent instructions and pastimes. We're very grateful that you're here. And we request that you come again and again to Bhaktivedanta Manor to enliven and enlighten us as you do so well.
I'd be happy to.